What started as the biggest driver move in modern F1 history might just become one of its biggest what-ifs. Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, the icon who redefined domination at Mercedes, was supposed to be the man to restore Ferrari's glory, the missing piece, the Red Knight, the chosen one to awaken the sleeping giant from Maranello and bring titles back to the Scuderia. But here we are, mid-2025, and what was supposed to be a fairy tale seems to be unraveling faster than a DRS wing in Monza. No podiums, no wins, and now no confidence. At the Hungarian Grand Prix, Hamilton looked like a shadow of the man who once made F1 his playground. After qualifying 12th, while Charles Leclerc snatched pole, Lewis didn't mince words. "I'm useless," he said, echoing a driver spiraling into self-doubt. But then came the real bombshell. There's a lot going on in the background that's not great. Suddenly, this wasn't just about pace or setup. It was politics, tension, and something much deeper under the hood at Ferrari. And let's not forget Hamilton's contract, kept vague by design, was labeled multi-year, but insiders suggest it runs through 2026 with an option on his side to extend into 2027. In other words, Lewis holds the keys. But after those comments in Budapest, you have to wonder if he's already reaching for the exit. Enter Johnny Herbert, former F1 driver and ex-FIA steward, who's now watching this slow-motion implosion like the rest of us. And he's not buying the silence. According to Herbert, the Ferrari-Hamilton alliance could be on life support already. And if it doesn't improve by the end of 2025, don't be surprised if they pull the plug. So if Lewis walks, or if Ferrari decides to help him find the door, who takes his seat? Herbert's got a spicy suggestion: Carlos Sainz. Yep, the same Sainz who was booted to make room for Hamilton. The smooth operator himself, now plugging away at Williams and frankly suffering in a midfield car. But don't let that fool you. Herbert thinks Carlos is still the real deal. Sainz has been open about the shock he felt when Ferrari dumped him. He'd been negotiating a new deal since October 2023, convinced he was staying put. But then came the January bombshell: Lewis is replacing you. No heads up, just a phone call, and not even from Ferrari. It was a friend who broke the news. Imagine that. 4 wins in red, keeping Leclerc honest for 4 seasons, only to get blindsided like that. And now Sainz has a contract with Williams that runs through 2026 on paper. But the rumors are loud. If a top team comes knocking, he's got an escape clause. And guess what? Ferrari might just come knocking. So, let's play it out. If Hamilton's comments weren't just heat-of-the-moment frustrations but genuine signs of deeper dysfunction at Ferrari, what happens next? Herbert suggests the conversations may already be happening behind closed doors. Maybe the team and driver are privately agreeing that if results don't improve, it's time to part ways. Maybe, just maybe, Sainz is already on the shortlist. But don't expect Max Verstappen to ride in on a red horse. Herbert flat out shut that down. This isn't a Verstappen story. It's a Sainz redemption arc waiting to be written. Let's circle back to the core of the issue: Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari's very public struggle to click. Team principal Fred Vasseur recently admitted what many suspected: they underestimated the scale of the transition. Hamilton had spent his entire career, from McLaren to Mercedes, inside one big Mercedes-shaped bubble. Same culture, same engineers, same systems. Moving to Ferrari was like switching planets. He spent 18 years in that environment, Vasseur said, and we stupidly expected that he would have everything under control. It was naive. Carlos Sainz, for comparison, had hopped teams like a seasoned traveler. Toro Rosso, Renault, McLaren, Ferrari, now Williams. Hamilton. He was a one-house man, and that comfort was now gone. Vasseur admitted that the early months were rough. It took 4 or 5 races just for Lewis to find his feet. From Canada to Austria, he looked closer to form. Then came Spa, a tough weekend. Hungary, a disaster. But Vasseur insists, don't read too much into it. The difference between P1 and P12 might be 1/10 of a second, he explained. In F1, a fraction means everything. But those fractions are piling up, and Hamilton's frustration is becoming louder. Vasseur says Lewis is demanding of his team, but also of himself. And that's fine. The mechanics can handle it as long as the driver is pushing just as hard on himself. But when the self-criticism starts bleeding into existential territory, I'm useless. Maybe they should replace me, then yeah, people start to worry. Behind the scenes, Ferrari has tried to smooth the transition. They've brought in familiar faces from Mercedes, Loic Serra, Jerome D'Ambrosio, performance engineer Luca Della. A support network. But even that hasn't been enough to bridge the cultural gap fast enough. Ferrari isn't Brackley. It isn't Brixworth. It's Maranello. And in Maranello, pressure doesn't build, it explodes. Hamilton has shown flashes of his old brilliance, especially in sprint formats. A win in China, a third in Miami. But come Sunday, the podiums are nowhere in sight. Not because the pace isn't there in qualifying, he's been as high as fourth in Monaco, but the execution hasn't followed. Penalties, strategy blunders, and bad luck have all conspired against him. So, here's the big question. Is this just a painful adaptation period, or are we witnessing the early unraveling of a move that never should have happened? Sainz, for his part, would probably love to answer that.